The first time someone told me programmers were about to be obsolete, I was young, and I believed them. There was a tool coming, they said, and it would let anyone build software without us. I've heard that same sentence every few years since. Different tool, same certainty, every time. And yet, here I am, still building. So either they were all wrong, or they were all looking at the wrong thing. It took me a long time to understand which. The tools always changed. The job underneath never did. This isn't a new idea. It's a 65-year-old one. In 1959, they said COBOL would let business people write their own programs. In 1982, a man wrote a book literally titled Applications Development Without Programmers. Then came fourth-generation languages in the 80s, case tools in the 90s, no code in the 2010s. Every single one promised the end of the programmer. I lived through the last few of those personally, and I'll tell you, it was the same brochure every time with a new logo on the front. Each tool was real. Each one was genuinely useful. And not one of them made developers disappear, because the moment you asked them to build something that had to scale, or be secure, or last, they couldn't. Every time coding got easier, we didn't end up with fewer developers. We ended up with more. It goes like this. A tool lowers the barrier. More people start building, so more software exists. And a world with more software is a world that wants better software, which needs more capable people to build it. Every wave that was supposed to shrink the field made it bigger. I watched it happen. Each time the typing got easier, there was simply more that mattered to build. The ladder didn't get shorter. It got taller. In 1986, a computer scientist named Fred Brooks wrote the sentence this whole series rests on. He said, "The hardest single part of building a software system is deciding precisely what to build." And he made a distinction I've never forgotten. He split the difficulty of software into two kinds. Accidental, that's expressing the design, the language, the tools, the typing. And essential, that's the design itself, figuring out what the thing should even be. Better tools, he said, only ever remove the accidental. They make no change whatever to the essential difficulty. Sit with that. The typing was always the easy part. Deciding what to build and how the pieces fit together. That was always the hard part, and no tool in 40 years has touched it. So let's be precise about the machine. Andrej Karpathy frames it as three eras. Software written by humans. Then software that's neural network weights. And now, software you write in plain English by prompting a model. He put it perfectly. The hottest new programming language is English. Look at what that actually automated. It drove the cost of expressing a design, the typing, the accidental complexity, towards zero. What it did not automate is the deciding. Karpathy's own line, a demo is works.any, a product is works.all. The machine gets you the demo. Closing the gap to a product is still yours. The AI removed the part that was never the bottleneck, and it left you holding the part that always was. Here's how I'd define a developer today. Simon Willison said something that cuts right to it. Implementation has a right answer. Design doesn't. The AI is brilliant at the parts with a right answer. It has nothing to offer on the parts that don't. So the job recenters on four things a machine can't own for you. Judgment, deciding what's even worth building. Design, how the whole system fits together. Verification, knowing when the confident answer is wrong. And ownership, being the one who's still there when it's running in production at 2 a.m. The machine removed the typing. It did not remove the responsibility. You're not obsolete. You're being asked to be more of a developer than typing alone ever required. That's the journey this series walks, from vibe coder to complete developer. First, the honest reckoning, is vibe coding actually enough? And what does the one-person company everyone's promising really take? Then the stack that turns a vibe coder into the real thing. System design, your data layer, integration, security, and actually shipping. And last, the skill that ties all of it together. How to verify the machine and know when it's leading you off a cliff. You don't need permission for any of this. You don't need a degree. You just need to learn the part that was always the actual job. The tools changed again. The job underneath still hasn't. Thank you for watching. If this reframed how you think about your own work, share it with someone who's wondering whether it's too late to learn. Subscribe to AI Tech Book. Next time, we ask the hard one, is vibe coding actually enough?